What is up, everyone? It is Matt and Jeff back for another real review. I am so excited to be sharing the screen once again with this lovely man right here, just talking about a movie, hanging out. It's what we do this for, right?
Sure.
How you doing today, Jeff?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing great. There's nothing wrong. What's up?
Not just coming off of a Cavs victory after watching this film we're going to talk about here in a minute, and that was fun.
Hey, at least there was also a Browns victory for you this week.
Yes, but
So
the thing about the Cavs victories,
the last 48 hours are not all for naught then.
Yeah, but the thing, Cavs victories are a bit more sweet because I can talk shit to our friend Amaru Moses. So that's who I was on the phone with before we started this up.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. So, but enough about that. We are here to talk about here. And I don't know how many times I can hear that word the rest of the nights.
What word? I couldn't hear you. Get it? It's play on words. There's here and then there's here. Anyways, what you're hearing is us talking about the movie Here by Robert Zemeckis. It comes out this week. Yeah, Friday at the time of this reviewing. It's going to be coming out this coming Friday, November 1st, or at least, Halloween technically for those Thursday night crowds. This definitely seems like a Halloween movie. It's a really fascinating concept. It's this one, it's showing a spot of land and it's showing just a fixed static shot. It doesn't alter
until the
whole time. It doesn't alter until the whole time there, and it just shows time. And it first seems like it's kind of it's non-linear. It's just like pockets of time here and there all throughout. And it does have a really fascinating, conversations trying to say, history repeats itself. Time flies, as the movie lampshades by saying, "Oh, time flies." Yeah, how obvious to say. And by saying that it's obvious, it makes it think it's okay to be obvious about it. I don't really care if a movie is subtle or unsubtle, but I just, it kind of, silly. But that's kind of it. It's kind of hard to talk about with movies about because it shows a bunch of other things. It's primarily about this couple.
Family. It's about family primarily. Easiest way to put it. And you do the primary family you spend time with is that of Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, but there are a couple other families sprinkled in there.
Yeah,
and it's one of those things where the concept is the hook. And Jeff and I were talking about this before we got started.
Before we got on here, that was my phrase.
I was just, but
credit me before I said credit me.
Literally, I said Jeff and I were talking. I said Jeff and I were talking about this before the stream. If you didn't interrupt,
yeah, but I did interrupt. You got to be faster.
Anyways, the concept is the hook, and ultimately that can be for the betterment of the film at times, but also to its detriment.
Yes.
Because when you're telling a story like this, especially since you are not moving the camera, what you see on screen needs to hook you in. And the people you see on screen need to hook you in. And at times, both of those are missing. It's just not hooking you in.
It's a very mixed bag. There's some things that are very interesting, some moving bits here and there, sprinkled in with the most random, wild stuff. I'll be honest, my theater, we laughed a lot during this movie, and I gotta say, I don't know how much of it was intentional.
Yeah, that was kind of my theater too. The only times I found myself intentionally laughing was with the inventor.
The inventor was, for us, we were just like, okay, like our theater, my theater, just that meant nothing. There was
I'll be honest, that was the pocket of time I had the most fun with. It was just
I think that it was very fun in that there, and it's just one of many things. There's several different time frames that this movie is kind of showing. It shows a bit of the dinosaurs. It shows Native Americans. It shows colonial wherever this is, and it just happens to
Gotta guess Virginia.
somewhere. No, I think it's in Pennsylvania. I think it's
Well,
somehow
no,
related to
because
Benjamin Franklin.
because it was his dad missed out on getting the Pennsylvania market. So considering they talked about Pennsylvania as its own market, I would have to guess it's got to
Maybe.
be Virginia, West Virginia area.
Yeah, maybe. They don't really specify in the movie. I mean, you could if you want to look up where Benjamin Franklin's son lived,
Illegitimate son, yes.
that will tell you the exact location.
I will.
Of this
I will
movie.
look it up. You know what? Might as well.
And it goes through all. It has that. It has this other couple. It has this other family of this couple with a daughter.
Philadelphia. We are in Philadelphia.
Boom, and it has like a child. The husband wants to fly a plane. It has another family, and it has this other thing that like brings it to like the present and COVID times. And there are things where it's like a bunch of stuff that tries to be dramatic, and it ends up coming off like in a way where you think it's like this might be like some of the worst things I've ever. This might be like some of the worst stuff all year.
Yeah.
It's like classic contemporary Zemeckis in that way. But then there's other stuff that really is affecting. I mean, like Hanks and Wright are quite good. Even when they tell you, even when he's like, "I'm 18," he says with his 65-year-old, 70-year-old voice.
He tried to sound as much like as Woody as he possibly could in this movie.
There was AI used in some of the effects.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, don't like that. The de-aging technique,
not great. It was not great.
It wasn't that it was bad. It's that it didn't convince enough. And also, like, we know Tom Hanks now
We know Robin Wright now.
We know Paul Bettany now. His face early on was okay, but like then if you pay attention, you're like, oh wow, no, your face is super smooth.
It was super smooth, but out of all of them, I think he probably outside of Hanks, even though the voice wasn't there, Hanks and Bettany looked the best.
I think Kelly Riley also looked good if she was de-aged at all, or she just looks young.
I was just about to say she also just looks young, so I don't know.
Yeah. It's a very strange movie. It's really hard to talk about in terms of like narrative and whatnot because there's not really. It kind of just shows like this is a life of this couple that happens to be in this house for like their entire lives, and there are a lot of interesting things. There's individual things that I like about it, but I just don't think that it really lands. To me, it is unfortunately a misfire, an ambitious misfire, and that it's trying to do something different, but still, a misfire. But I'd rather have an ambitious misfire than a boring, competently made.
I will say this: it doesn't have a large budget. It does not have.
It's like a $50 million budget. Yeah, it's $50 million.
And they have not really marketed this film at all, as from what I've seen.
Not
so
really.
If it hits that $60 to $70 million range, it's probably going to be okay.
Worldwide, I don't even think it'll hit that.
I was about to say, I think that's generous.
But then again, like that's just us. I don't want to talk about that from like the idea of like let's just turn box office into a sports cast. I think that it's gonna. I just don't know if this is the kind of movie that takes advantage enough of its premise and like the I guess like the cinematic medium of trying to like utilize the concept, where it's going to connect with people. I don't think it's gonna work out very well. And you know what? I might be completely wrong because, but like I didn't have a large screening, but I had different groups of different people. I had like a couple that was like my age to my left. I had a couple that were like in their 70s to my right.
And they all chose your row.
Yeah, I know. I sat down in the row early on, and then everyone all showed up and then sat down beside me. It was crazy. The rest of the theater was like nearly empty. It was wild. But they both reacted pretty much the same way throughout it, which was laughing more often than not at things that weren't supposed to be funny. And just like not really, I don't know, like there's a energy you get in the theater when you feel a movie connecting or not connecting. I don't go to the theater that often to see movies that I end up like really disliking. So the last time I went to a movie where I felt a similar laugh at, not with nature in an audience was Madam Web
Oh,
and Don't Worry, Darling.
yikes.
And I like this movie more than both of those. I like those movies more ironically, I think, than this one. But I think overall, this movie is more interesting than them.
I can agree with that.
It has a lot. It's not when I say ambitious misfire, I don't mean like it's a misfire like don't watch it. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff. I just don't think
Yes.
that they're able to figure out a way to make it work. Wow, that was really
And
aggressive way to say work.
but like, and to be fair, like I think we saw shades of how it could work if you kept tying like the history into what this
Yes.
family's now going through, and we only saw that I could think of one instance of that. Just one instance.
I like the idea of like there are echoes in time.
Yes.
There's there's a legitimately funny moment in the movie that involves a baby falling.
It's in the first couple minutes.
And then there's a callback to that imagery later in the movie, and it's supposed to be very dramatic.
Yes.
And my theater erupted in laughter at it.
I'm not shocked.
So but like then I think about it and I'm like, yeah, I understand what it was going for. But I also laughed at it, and I don't think it was a nervous laughter at what was going on. Visually speaking, it looks silly.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of the movie kind of feels like. Kind of.
I gotta ask, are we in another Zemeckis lull? Because it feels like since the early 2000s.
He's been on it for a while. Okay, so let's go backwards. Okay?
I'm looking at so
we got Pinocchio, which was awful. We got The Witches, which was the pits. Welcome to Marwen, which is
great,
abysmal. Great. Allied, I like Allied fine. That's the last time I saw a Zemeckis movie in a theater.
The Walk is fine.
Flight. Walk I haven't seen. Flight's great.
Yeah, Flight's great.
So
that's what I was about to say. Are we just in another
weird motion capture thing?
Which was Christmas Carol, Beowulf, and Polar Express.
But yeah, I think that he hasn't made like a
great movie since
watchable movie since Allied. He hasn't made a good movie since The Walk. He hasn't made a great movie since Flight.
Yeah, and that's what it seems like. We get these lulls where he's like, okay, maybe we're back a little bit, and now
he's very interested in this. He's always been someone that tries to like push technology, figure out new ways to explore stuff, which is why he used risky AI to help with de-aging here. And guess what, dude?
Didn't work.
Doesn't look good. How about you stop doing that shit? I don't know what kind of AI it is. I don't know if it's like one of those things where it's not actually AI or if it's actually some kind of generative. I didn't look up enough to see, but
I will say those close-ups, some of them were just horrendous, especially Robin Wright.
Yeah, because like the close-ups are always so weird because it's like they got to come up to the camera, and it's like you come up to the camera, and then they just have the most like awkward angle the way that they have to stand there because it's supposed to be like natural, that they don't
digital-looking face ever.
Yeah,
makes you feel like you're looking at a video game.
Yeah,
it's so so we actually at first we were.
We're really complaining about it, but
I know. At first, we were at different ratings for this, but leading up to our recording of this, we both landed at a 2.5 out of 5. And yeah, it's you come for Wright, you come for Hanks, and the magic they've shared with Zemeckis in the past. You're gonna enjoy it somewhat, or just be bored by it.
I think you're going to laugh at it more than with it, but I just think there's too many interesting things going on there to write it off entirely.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work. But I'm fascinated enough by so many of the pieces, and you know what? The 2.5 is probably generous. It's really probably more of like a 1.5. But I'm so fascinated by it that I think that I like it, or I
Yes.
respect it more than I like it.
I will say it does drag at times where it's only an hour and
And
40-ish
44
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah.
And that's because there's no real narrative. It
Yeah.
just kind of
This it's
is.
just there.
And which is
Yes.
fine. Movies don't have to have
Yes.
a structured narrative. It's just like it just needs to work better with
It
whatever
needs to
they are
give you
doing
something to latch on to for you to care about and pull you along with for the
to
journey.
want to
Which
continue. And like, yeah, it was more morbid fascination. And I'm glad that I saw it. I don't know if I'm happy that it exists in its current form, but I'm not mad.
great. I'm
So
hey. But with that, folks, that was our review for here. If you haven't already checked out the rest of the channel, please do so and check out the latest episode of our Superman podcast leading into James Gunn's Superman Views from Metropolis. We did Superman the movie with special guest Mike Wendt. That dropped last Friday. Next Friday, November 7th, the next episode of that drops, which will be Smallville Season 2. Also, if you haven't already, check out our sister channel, Watt Gaming. That's run by one of our partners, Taylor Cleek, where he takes our Twitch streams and everything and puts them on there as VODs and makes some fantastic clips and good stuff. So be sure to check that out. But also, follow that man right there. Just tell him where to find you, Jeff.
below, right there. There it is. It's under my name.
And you can find me here
Twitter.
on Twitter at WattMovies_Matt. Remember to follow the Twitch, which is just twitch.tv/WattRealEnt. It's spelled in that top corner above Jeff's head. And yeah, with that, folks, signing off. I'm Matt. That's Jeff. And this was another Real Review. We'll see you next time.